our next talk is from Kelly. Kelly, you're joining us from Pipe17, and we're all super excited to hear about that. You want to get your slides up, and I'll put them up on the screen?
Well, thanks for having me speak here. This whole thing, by the way, is giving me flashbacks to GraphQL. I wrote an O'Reilly book on GraphQL back in 21, and hosted GraphQL Conf, and a lot of the same vibes. Same challenges, the same shifting responsibility from the server side to the client side. Kind of interesting how that is coming around again, but in a different context. Can you see my screen here? Okay.
I can. Yeah, the floor is yours, my friend.
Awesome. A little bit of background on me. I'm COO at Pipe17, spending a couple of years doing operations, but really CPO at heart. Was CPO at Commerce Tools for 8 years. I've written 4 O'Reilly books. What else? Product manager in Oracle's early cloud days, and actually with the stock price at above 300, I wish I'd stayed, to be honest. I sold all of my Oracle stock back in 2016 at $22 a share, which my wife is kind enough to remind me of. Thinking Oracle would never make it, and I guess I was proven wrong on that one, huh? And before that, I was an architect with ATG, which was the leading commerce platform back in the 90s and 2000s. All right, am I ready to go? All set?
Absolutely, yeah. The floor is yours.
All right, sounds good. I'll give you a few slides on who we are, what we do, how we're embracing MCP. I think we're ahead of the curve of most SaaS vendors, and then we'll do a quick demo. So a couple slides on us. We see a lot more selling channels than ever used to be. Originally, you would just buy things on a brand.com. We now see people buying things on TikTok Shop is over 100 billion GMV. Amazon, of course. Walmart is huge. There's so many more places you can buy things, and I'll talk about AI shortly here as well. But again, just a huge number of these selling channels are proliferating, and many of our customers are selling across 5 or even 10 different channels. It's crazy how many there are these days. And at the same time, you have a lot of challenges on the fulfillment side, and Amazon has really, really ruined customer expectations. Everybody wants things same day or next day. My first corporate job was at Foot Locker back in 2004, and at the time they had one warehouse in Wisconsin that served the entire country. And now they have 8 different warehouses and 2 different 3PLs on top of that. So it's crazy how many more fulfillment partners brands have, largely because of Amazon. Again, Amazon has really set customer expectations, and it's forced everyone to put their goods in many, many more physical warehouses. And we at Pipe17 have a network at our foundation. We're the first OMS to support network. So we take an order after it's been captured. So when you get that thank you page, we take that order and then we pass it to back office systems of records. So think of ERP systems, data lakes, data warehouses, financial systems, all that messy back office. And then we also connect up to fulfillment channels. And then we can push things back into selling channels as well. So if you place an order on TikTok, for example, we'll take that order, we'll sync it up to your Shopify, we'll sync it up to your Walmart listing and make sure that the inventory is decremented there. Give it back to your ERP so they have a copy of it, and then we'll find the most appropriate WMS or 3PL to fulfill it from. So kind of at a high level, this is what a lot of our customers look like. They've got a whole bunch of integrations set up here, but really going after this network approach where you plug in your API key, you get data into the network, it gets normalized, nice and clean approach here. So let's go into commerce a little bit and how it's changing. So again, we started out by selling on these brand.coms. And as my 14-year-old is keen to remind me, websites are for old people, she says, which doesn't make me feel very good because that's how I've made my living for so many decades now. But I think, she's partially true here. They're on all these social apps, they're on marketplaces. AI is starting to actually capture orders as well. But there's a huge fragmentation beyond just the brand.com, and that's created a lot more complexity. And we're going to see the ChatGPTs and Claudes of the world actually start capturing orders themselves. And It's been widely reported that ChatGPT is getting in-app checkout. So not only can you browse, but you can also buy, and there's going to be an integrated payment wallet as part of that, which is pretty revolutionary. So the AI head needs somewhere to push orders to, and that's where we come into play here. So as of last week, we launched MCP. We're the very first OMS to do so. And we now support Claude and then ChatGPT Pro and Plus accounts as well. And we'll roll out more broad support here shortly. But it's a full first class MCP server, and it actually turned out to not be that hard to do. I'm sure some of our developers would disagree with me, but from a time and how much it's gotten up to my level within Pipe17, it has not been terrible, not as bad as I thought it would be, and certainly way less traumatic than folks doing GraphQL a few years ago. So we exposed 40 plus tools. And again, we're exposing where the orders go after the order has been captured. So somewhere in some app or some website or some experience, a customer has said, I want to buy this widget for this amount of money. It has to be shipped to this location. Here's my payment information, right? So after that has been captured, that's the relatively easy part. Where it gets difficult is, has the order been sent to my ERP? What does my ERP say? How do we decrement inventory across 10 different selling channels? There's so many considerations with MCP, with order management, and what happens after the order has been captured. It gets really complicated quickly, and that's why we were really excited to learn about MCP and all the advantages that it holds. So these are some common use cases. What's the status? How many orders did I receive? You can capture orders directly from MCP as well. Rerun the routing for an order, for example. You can mark a warehouse as being out of commission. Maybe there is a fire and the whole warehouse burned down. You can remove that very quickly and easily via MCP. So a lot of the nuts and bolts of just order management that gets surfaced up to MCP. And we're starting to see customers vibe code their own apps on top of our MCP already. It's only been a week, but we already have 2 customers doing that, which is really cool to see. So one built a ticketing queue system and one built a dashboard for looking at where orders are getting routed to. So I thought that was really cool to see. You can also troubleshoot stuck orders, which is pretty interesting. Orders get stuck for all sorts of reasons. Maybe a connection in the network is down somewhere. There's human in the loop often as well. Sometimes warehouses are physically shut down, so you might send an item to be fulfilled from a specific warehouse and that location is no longer available. There are all sorts of reasons why. And a common ops job is to figure out why orders are stuck. So we make that all really, really easy via our MCP server here. You can also create dashboards. And I thought this was really interesting. Gartner, Forrester, IDC, I know some of you are too cool to do the analyst game, but an boring enterprise world where I live, these analyst reports are life or death for us. They're really, really important. And I've always thought it was really unfair of them to demand that we as an OMS have our own OMS scoped dashboard for reporting. And they require every app, whatever category, whether it's order management or content management or commerce platform. In my world, they require that all of these apps have all of this functionality that's only scoped to that specific platform. And I always thought how ridiculous that was, because what good is a dashboard only for a specific SaaS application, for a specific platform? And my answer is, it's not very good. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. Instead, I think this type of functionality should be surfaced at the enterprise level, and you should be able to look across all of your selling channels and all of your fulfillment channels and everything else. Anyway, long story. We're going to submit in our response to IDC. They have a MarketScape coming up. We are just going to say, this is our reporting. And all it is an ad hoc generated dashboard in Claude. And it fulfills all the requirements on their spreadsheet. But it's pretty cool that we didn't have to spend any engineering resources at all building out reporting requirements to satisfy an analyst. Instead, we can just rely on MCP to do the whole thing. So I'm going to switch screens here. Any questions for me so far?
No, it's Honestly, it's great, great discussion. Super excited about how, the use case you're putting together. Have you guys looked at? I mean, just have you looked at all at like bringing the UI into the MCP a bit? Because you're talking about having Claude develop, kind of show that
Yeah.
those charts and things. But I'm wondering if that couldn't be a universal thing that didn't really require, like, where you sort of dictated this is how we want reports to come out, but we'll let any agent, like, regardless of how you're consuming it, bring it. We had the MCP UI guys on a couple months ago, and it was really impressive how much of the UX from your product could be in the MCP, and there's a lot of support for those going forward.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to explore. I think our developers might get a little angry if I, say thanks for MCP here. Now we have to do MCP UI as well. I think I have to
Step
let
two,
them catch
man.
their breath a little
One more
bit.
step along the journey.
But hey, we're getting there. We're getting there, and we're the very first OMS to support MCP, so we're quite proud of that.
You should be.
So look, we've got it set up here, pretty straightforward, and you can say things like, what Pipe17 tools are available. What's cool about this is, historically, if you look at, a ChatGPT, for example, right, or Claude, say Claude, since I'm using Claude right now. With Claude, if you're capturing an order here, they have no way of getting that order back to a traditional order management system. And if you look at all those retailers out there, look at the Best Buys of the world, for example, right? They all have pretty old school order management systems. And there's no way of getting an order once it's been captured, which is relatively easy to do. There's no way to do that and pass it back to the OMSs of these retailers and brands. And that's why I'm really excited about MCP, because now we as an OMS can say, hey, here's our MCP server, go nuts, right? You want to pass orders to us, you could do so all day long directly from AI or any other place. So super easy to do. But these are our tools that we support. We can say, what are the current stock orders in Pipe17? And again, what's so interesting about our approach is it's very network centric, right? So you're operating in a network. You're not just having a traditional application that wants to be the center of the universe, right? You don't want that to be sitting on top of a database. That's a very old school approach. And even the newer OMSs these days, it's the same approach they take, right? They want to be the center of the universe. And our approach is anybody can be the system of record. We don't really particularly care, right? We can do it, or we can delegate that to the commerce platform, or some want the ERP to do that, right? Pretty easy to do. But look how, I just asked a simple question, what are the current stuck orders? And it's listing orders, it's listing exceptions, right? And we can say, why is order stuck, right? And it'll do an investigation, and it'll call all these tools and figure this out. And you can see it's calling all sorts of tools behind the scenes here to actually fulfill the request. And this is really revolutionary because, again, historically, you'd have to be pulling up many, many, many different screens to do this. There's no simple way to do this otherwise. And MCP, you give it the goal of finding out what's wrong, and it will just magically do it. It's really impressive technology. This is what we've been waiting for. And you can also argue MCP is going to replace a lot of the app stores within these packaged platforms. Think of the Salesforce ecosystem, right? They've got 5,444 applications in their app store. Now you can just expose this all up through MCP, right? And now MCP becomes the app store basically, because vendors like us can now just publish everything up. So, but look how, it gives key findings, right? There's a temporary hold because it's a temporary hold. That's why the order's stuck right now, because somebody programmed it to hold for 2.5 hours. And sometimes that's done for a good reason, because customers change their mind. I know some customers some retailers, for example, who, if an order is placed after 8 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday night, they'll hold the order for an additional 12 hours because people do things on Friday or Saturday nights, and they make decisions they otherwise shouldn't make. And then the next day they cancel. And it's a lot easier just to hold the order for 12 hours and, let folks cancel it. And then, they're not out of pocket on any shipping costs or any fulfillment costs or anything of that sort. But yeah, I mean, look, it'll just tell you the most likely cause of what happened and why. Pretty cool stuff. What other questions do you have?
Honestly, I think that's really cool, Kelly. I love your guys' approach here. So you've decided to go in and kind of dive all in as a SaaS vendor to embracing MCP. Have I have a couple of questions that are more about like the thinking you guys had. So our audience here are people who build a lot of MCPs or a lot of consumers of MCPs, build agents with MCPs, and one of the things we've run into is there's definitely been some SaaS companies who have looked at MCP as a potential for being disintermediated, being put, losing the customer, right? The customer is no longer talking to them; they're talking to Claude, and so what are they besides just data and logic on the back end? And will it be harder for them to continue to add value or to continue to add value? So Salesforce is a great example where they're leaning into MCPs to a bit, but they're also kind of saying, hey, build your agents here. They have Agent Force. They're telling people we're the place to build your agents. And so you guys have obviously made a totally different decision. You've said, no, like we're not an agent AI platform. We're a logistics and order management system. So we want to be where you are. Tell me about that logic, because there must have been somebody internally who said we should build an agent in our product, and that should be the master agent, not let the customers talk through Claude. Or maybe you're going to do both. I mean, I'm curious, just as a product organization, how you decided this was, because you're first in your space to do it. It's clearly not something you were like, oh, everyone's doing it, we better do it. You guys wanted to do this. You jumped out. You made the investment. Why?
I really am disliking the term agent because it has so many different meanings. But look, to continue what you said, there are basically two types of agents. There's an agent within an application, and we have that. It's called Pippin, and I'm going to dramatically oversimplify it, but think of it as a very intelligent Clippy style agent. Right? It's very good at working within our platform, and everything you see here that I'm doing, you can do the same thing with Pippin, right? And it'll give you suggestions on how to map data better, how to set up routing rules, right? It's an in-app assistant, and that's good, and that's helpful, and we'll continue to invest in that, and that makes a lot of sense. But agents can also mean at the AI level, and I don't know what you want to call that. It's like the AI platform level. It's at the Claude level or the ChatGPT level. I think that actually, I'm quite positive the future is going to be at that level. I think that's where consumers are spending their time all day long. They're in Claude or ChatGPT or take your pick, right? Gemini is popular these days. That is going to be the future platform. And in a world where that is the platform, the way you consume data and functionality from vendors like us is via MCP. So it makes perfect sense that we would invest there. And I really don't like when vendors build agents and they scope them only to their platform, right? They're basically building a PaaS for their platform only. And all that does is create lock-in, right? And you only have access to those applications. So if you're a wall-to-wall Salesforce shop and you think AI is terrifying, and you have people who are overly zealous on the security side, then yeah, maybe you want to use Salesforce's, PaaS and Salesforce's scoped agents, and that's probably fine. But again, I think there's, literally $1 trillion invested in AI across the world, right? Literally. And I think that ecosystem, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, the Claudes, right? That's where all of this time and money and effort is being spent and invested in. That is going to be the future platform. And we should expose our data and functionality up to that world, not force everyone down into our platform and do the traditional closed wall vendor thing that so many vendors are famous for doing, to the detriment of customers.
I'm curious if
look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is really. And this is all generated from Claude, right? This is Claude's perspective on how to generate a report based on your information. Have you so one of the things that I've heard from other SaaS vendors is that they're kind of in your camp, I would say. Like they want to be existing in the world that is Claude and Gemini, but they want to be able to control their experience. So imagine I'm Target, right? I want the Target MCP, we'll call it, or the target agent to exist. But I want that target agent to still be target. Like I want to be able to test it. I want to make sure that it represents target. It speaks like a target sales person, that it knows who I am and it connects with me and it represents target. And so I've seen some people that are trying to bring let's just like your Pippin example. They're saying like the MCP should just be Pippin and I should talk to Pippin from ChatGPT, or I should talk to Pippin from, and so there's, it's not that I'm exposing my API as an MCP, but rather I'm exposing my agent as an MCP, and that agent is there. And so I can talk to Claude and tell Claude, hey, check with Pippin and see what it knows. And so it's using MCP still, but that agent is the MCP, and that agent is coming back. And it's really just sending text back and forth. It's not necessarily choosing what to call. The choosing of what to call is more done by the target agent or by Pippin to kind of pull the MCP capabilities. And it allows them, the case they've made is it allows us to test the experience, to choose the LLM that they're interacting with, to sort of, ensure that the experience is really good and that we're not just providing APIs and we can sort of write some of the logic. Have you guys talked about that at all? Is that something that came up in your design that, maybe Pippin is our answer? We just need to push it as an MCP to the universe?
We could, but look, Pippin and our MCP server are both calling the same APIs behind the scenes. So it doesn't make a ton of sense for us to do that, but I could see how some organizations, the targets of the world would want that, a much more controlled, gated experience, much more brand focus. So I get that. I get that use case. And look, I don't particularly care. If people want to experiment, I think that's a great thing for all of us. As an industry, we should be championing this experimentation, and in a couple of years, we'll figure it all out. So I'm happy. I think we can all agree that, this is better than not doing anything at all, which is kind of the status quo.
Oh, no question about it. I'm just curious about the debate internally, because I think in a lot of SaaS companies, there is a lot of, a lot of internal conflict over this question of what's our function.
Yeah,
go ahead, Darren.
I wonder, your thoughts on this of so there's this, because it's like, why do you build your own agent or assistant inside your app? Because it's like, you want the customers, it's like they're coming directly to you. And there's a certain fear of oh, if I integrate with ChatGPT, I've suddenly ChatGPT is the gatekeeper to the world, and I'm going to lose my, customer or something like that. They're putting up some things. So it's like, what is your perspective on should people, companies kind of be embracing of oh no, this is the, ChatGPT is the new internet or something like that. It's fine. We're all just going to play there, or no, try to create your own unique entry point to the world,
Weak vendors with poor competitive differentiation and/or those who seek to over monetize their products are the ones who erect barriers.
I agree. That's well said, Paul. That's exactly what I think. That's the right approach, is all of the work you've spent years doing on back-end technology and capabilities and stuff, and building relationships with your customers and understanding their needs. That's why they're going to stay your customer. It's not because of your UI, because they want to work with you as fast as possible, get as much value as possible. So congratulations, Kelly.
Gatekeeping things is not value.
Yeah, it really isn't. And I think that you're going to see a lot of companies make mistakes here, and it's going to open up opportunities for people who are going to jump in, and they're going to steal market share, because you can't, I think what people want is they want their agents to do work for them. They want their agents to be able to go talk to their email and talk to their Pipe17 and talk to their Shopify, and they want to do work for them so that they can focus on other things.
And, speaking of I'm trying to get data from our Slack into ChatGPT via MCP, and it won't let me unless I upgrade our Slack plan. And it makes me so angry. That is my data. It's my data. I've typed all that stuff. That's my data and my company's data. I should have access to it wherever I want, however I want.
And that's such a great example, because it's exactly what people are trying to do. They're trying to use these data sinks to force you to pay more for a feature that, I already got API access. Now I have people who are like, oh, we're going to make our MCP part of our premium plan, and you only get the MCP if you pay extra for it. I'm like, then you're going to get, you're just trying to do the same thing, which is just keep twisting the knife on your customers who are trying to literally drive productivity up. I love your approach. It's refreshing. I think you guys are going to kick ass with it. And I'm so glad you came on, because I hope other SaaS companies are hearing this and not making these mistakes?
I mean, I was going to say, like, I've got a bunch of kids, different ages or whatever, and just watching what kids are doing. I mean, it's like, because I'm amazed the amount of shopping that goes through like TikTok and these other channels. But then the fact that like my kids right now are like, I mean, Google's dead to them. You know, it's like they're switching to assistant. That's what they know. They're growing up with, oh yeah, I can just ask this thing because it does their homework for them and does everything. It's like this is the new, like, it's like they're growing up with the idea of just talking to the internet, like
an all knowledgeable. Yeah.
It's like this channel, however it shapes out or whatever. It's like it seems like this is where people are, where it's going.
This is the new web. I mean, this is probably a discussion better to be had over a beer sometime. But like, I really think the web is going to be an MCP UI-ish thing that is dynamically assembled for each client depending on each query and runtime. And we're just going to be pulling together all these little fragments in our AI heads or AI browsers.
Ironically, at the exact same time, AI is destroying the web with just garbage content. So it's like we're destroying the internet with generated content, creating this new world that's better with it, so it's, it's cool. I think you guys are definitely on the right track. It makes sense.
I can't thank you enough for coming on, Kelly. Raghav, thank you as well for joining us. It was awesome to hear what you're doing, and it was a real nice change. We get lots and lots of talks that are about MCP tools and capabilities. I was really looking forward to this one because I love hearing from organizations that are in other industries fully embracing this and bringing it to their customers. And I think you're the first person who's come on that has said what I've been wanting to hear, which is like, if you don't do this, you are going to lose customers eventually. If you do not understand the future of interface, right? The future of interface, just UX, full stop, you are going to lose customers. So you can try to put up walls and you can all think you're going to be an AI company because you're going to have a chatbot on your app, and you're not, right? You better live in the universe we're all living in. We had very, very great presentation. All right. With that, I want to wrap up. It was great having everyone here today. Raghav, thank you so much for joining us and staying on late. And we'll be back in 2 weeks after if anybody hasn't already, get your last minute tickets to London and come join us. It is going to be awesome. We're going to have 30 plus sessions about MCP. It's kind of nuts. So take care, and we will talk to you next 2 weeks from now.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you.